If economic disaster strikes, I want to be prepared. I want to know what actions I need to take and when if things start to get bad enough to ensure that my future retirement is going to be okay. Hi, my name is Derek Delaney. I'm a certified financial planner, and this is the type of work I do for my clients for a living. And it's not uncommon for many pre retirees or newly retirees to want to plan for worst case scenarios in their retirement. They don't want to get surprised. They want to know that if disaster strikes, they're going to be okay. And on top of all of that, they want to know what action steps they're going to need to take in order to make everything long term be okay. And they don't want to do it with a bunch of emotion getting in the way. And they want a detailed plan up front that tells them when and how they need to act. And for many people, this is what they call stress testing a retirement plan, which is very, very important because that's where a lot of the confidence long term comes from when pre retirees and current retirees enter into retirement and start living off of their assets. But the question becomes, what retirement period should you stress test your portfolio or retirement plan from? And for a lot of pre-retirees and newly retirees, their mind goes directly toward the great financial crisis in 2007, 8, and 2009, because that is what is in their minds. They go, well, if economic disaster strikes and investment markets drop 50%, I don't want to have to go back to work like I saw my parents or friends or people that I knew had to do in 2007, 8, and 9. But the reality is 2007, 2008, and 2009 might not be the type of economic disaster that most represents the type of economic environment we are experiencing today. Let me give you an example. So if we look at a hypothetical retirement planning situation, and we utilize what I call a dynamic withdrawal strategy, which means we have guardrails in place that say, hey, if the portfolio gets low enough for a temporary amount of time, we're going to have to cut your spending until things get back on track. And once they get back on track, these upper and bottom guardrails, again, will tell us if we can spend more at some future date or have to take another cut at some point in retirement, giving the specific economic conditions we're facing, inflation, and the value of your overall portfolio at that time. And you can see here that if this pre-retiree couple were to experience the global financial crisis in 2007 through 2009, they would find themselves having to cut their income 2 times during that period and then live below their planned income levels for a specific period of time until they get to a point where economically things get better. They're able to increase that income and from there meet all their planned income needs at that point moving forward for the entirety of their retirement plan. So a lot of pre-retirees would go, hey, if we have another global financial crisis 2.0, I would gladly cut my income slightly twice during those tough economic times, live below my means for a little bit, while knowing that at a specific point in the future, I will increase my income again to the planned income that I thought I was going to get when we first started our retirement planning, knowing that that planned income will be there for the rest of my retirement. But the problem is, does the global financial crisis and the economic conditions running up to the global financial crisis represent the economic conditions we face right now? And the answer to that is no. Where in reality, if we look at a historical analysis and we go, what type of economic environment or economic context most represents what we're experiencing today? It's not the global financial crisis. It's actually the financial turmoil that we experienced in the late 60s, early 70s. And what is that economic experience represent? Well, it represents the stagflation era from 1968 to 1982. And you can see here that if the same pre-retiree couple were to experience this type of economic uncertainty, they would hit that bottom guardrail far more often, and they would be forced to take many, many more income cuts, and we'd be hard-pressed to find a time in their retirement that they'd have the ability to spend at the planned income level that they thought they wanted to spend money at when they first started retirement due to those poor economic conditions. And you can see here stagflation brought with it a bunch of hot inflation, so higher inflation, higher unemployment, higher interest rates, and most importantly, the inflation adjusted annual equity or stock rate of return during that period was far, far lower than what historical averages presumed were going to be hit from a rate of return standpoint. So a lot of pre-retirees during that period probably planned for higher stock market rate of returns than what actually came to fruition. Now we have no idea what's going to happen in an economic context moving forward, and we have no idea what investment markets are going to do. So the question becomes, what can you do to start planning for a potential stagflation type of period? And not saying that stagflation is going to happen all over again, but what if certain economic experiences are similar moving forward to what we experienced back in the late 60s and into 70s? And how could a pre-retiree or a retiree, newly retiree, handle that? Well, there are a couple different things you can do. And the first thing you're going to want to make sure you do is not get too conservative with your investment portfolio too fast. So getting conservative with your investments feels safe. But in this respect, safety is a mirage, where that inflation will actually eat away at your purchasing power faster long term. So make sure not to get too conservative too fast as you enter into retirement, or if you're newly entered into retirement. The second thing you're going to want to do is make sure you have flexibility from a withdrawal standpoint. Many people have some sort of fixed withdrawal strategy, like 4% of their portfolio every single year, when in reality, a dynamic withdrawal strategy, something that plays into that guardrail strategy that I showed you earlier, could provide a lot of benefit, because then it gives you real-time information to let you know when withdrawals should be decreased or increased in retirement, given specific economic scenarios that take place. And then finally, the last thing you're going to want to make sure you do is have a diversified portfolio, because there are asset allocations that have proven in the past to perform well during times of inflation, like real estate, or in some situations, maybe commodities, or some sort of inflation hedge investment strategy. I'm not saying that you should or should not take advantage of those investments, but they should be considered as part of your overall investment portfolio if hot inflation, low expected rates of return are something you're worried about and could be something that could derail your future retirement. And these are all situations and conversation topics that you should be having with your financial planning strategist before you make any of these moves, and especially before you enter into retirement, so you have a really good idea of how well your portfolio or your retirement plan will fare if any one of these specific economic disasters do take place. Now, this is the type of conversations that I continuously have with my clients as they approach retirement and as they enter into retirement, to make sure that no surprises happen once they get there. So if you're interested in having a conversation to learn more about how my services and my retirement planning, specifically with those guardrails, could be beneficial to your future retirement or current retirement, click the link below, schedule time to chat, and I'd be happy to provide more insight about all of that to give you a better shot at retirement success. Until that time, happy retirement planning.